I mean, my mindset is on winning, so I think we could always do better. Even the games we won, we still have a lot of things to work on. No lost confidence. Just make sure I'm getting out there, getting a lot of reps.
The Blazers drafted Henderson with the number 3 overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. At 19 years old, he instantly became one of the essential pieces of Portland's young core. Blazers cleared the path for Henderson to become the new franchise guard in Portland when they traded Damian Lillard to Milwaukee. With Portland in rebuilding mode, the runway has been cleared for Scoot to grow and develop as an NBA player. However, the early results have been inconsistent at best and troubling at worst. The Blazers hope to see flashes of a future star. Instead, they've got an inefficient shooter and a horrible decision maker. Henderson is a critical player for Portland's rebuild, and he'll have to make major improvements this season to turn his rookie year around. A setback in his potential path to stardom could spell doom for Scoot and Portland as they try to march back to NBA relevancy. Before we get to the content, make sure you drop, like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. I haven't proved myself to you at this point, then check this out. On Thursday Night Football, these are all the people that made money by following my prize picks for free on Instagram. I give out my picks for free each and every night, and if you end up tailing me and hit green, I shout you out like this. Right now, when you use my promo code microphone, you could double your deposit up until $100 on prize picks. And thank you, prize picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Scoot Henderson was such a special basketball talent that he skipped his senior year of high school to turn pro. He reclassified to the 2021 class in order to join the G League Ignite program. In doing so, Scoot also skipped college, even though he had multiple high-level offers. Playing in the G League with the Ignite, Scoot got a chance to play alongside other pros and top prospects while preparing for the NBA. Since he graduated high school early, he played in this program for 2 seasons. It was a small sample size, but Scoot was electric during his time with the Ignite. He improved most of his numbers across the board over his time with the team, and he even played in the All-Star Weekend's reformatted Rising Stars Challenge in 2022. His last season with the Ignite, in particular, reaffirmed his top draft pick status. Well, not the top pick. Scoot wasn't expected to overtake French phenom Victor Wembanyama for the draft's #1 overall spot, although he got a chance to showcase his skills head-to-head. Last October, during a game between Victor Wembanyama's French club and the Ignite, the two were the game's top scorers, and Scoot's team got the win in an entertaining game. Leading up to the draft, Scoot was high on many teams' draft boards, often going either second or third. It was no surprise when the Spurs took Victor Wembanyama first overall. The real intrigue was if the Charlotte Hornets would take Scoot Henderson or Alabama forward Brandon Miller with the second pick. It's the age-old debate in what you should do in the NBA draft. Do you draft based off of upside or do you draft based off of need? In the case of the Charlotte Hornets, they already had a young franchise point guard in LaMelo Ball, who they just ended up extending on a massive 5-year deal. So the Charlotte Hornets went with Brandon Miller, who believed to be a better fit with their existing roster, which made the next selection very easy for the Portland Trail Blazers as they drafted Scoot Henderson with a 3rd overall pick. But Scoot was walking into a franchise that still had a black cloud hanging over it. Scoot wore the number 0 with the Ignite, but ended up picking 00 when he got to Portland. During his introductory press conference, he had a simple explanation as to why.
Honestly, I picked it. I seen the roster and obviously 0 was taken.
The guy who wore number 0, or in this case the letter O, was Damian Lillard. In an era filled with superstar trade requests, Damian Lillard had stayed with Portland since they drafted him 6th overall in the 2012 NBA draft. In 11 seasons, he made his claim to fame as the greatest player in the history of the franchise. He's the team's all-time leading scorer, 3-point shooter, free throw shooter, along with the top ranking in PER and points per game. Portland will never forget his iconic playoff moments like this buzzer beater to sink Houston in 2014.
It's Lillard. He got the shot off. Lillard, good!
Or what about his iconic buzzer beater in 2019 that quite literally sent the OKC Thunder into a full-scale rebuild?
Lillard, long-range 3, and it's good!
And most recently, what about his 55-point playoff game against Denver in 2021? His impact on the Portland community on and off the court deserves its own video. However, after seeing the team build for the future and slip from playoff contention, Damian Lillard rightfully requested a trade as free agency began. And to his credit, he didn't even formally request a trade until after the draft. But even Scoot Henderson had to address the Lillard situation on one of the biggest nights of his life.
Why should Dame stay and see what it's like to play with Scoot?
Honestly, I think Dave should stay just because I think we just kind of, if we combine our games, it'll be over. You know what I'm saying? We kind of complement each other's games. We're both fun to watch. So ticket sales go up, all that, all the good stuff will happen.
Trade rumors came non-stop during the summer as Portland tried to move on from the Damian Lillard era so Scoot and the young core could take the reins. But it wasn't until late September when Portland finally traded Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks in a 3-team deal for Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, and Toumani Camara, along with Portland's 2029 unprotected first-round pick and the Bucks' 2028 and 2030 pick swaps. A couple days later, Portland flipped Holiday to Boston in exchange for Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, a Warriors 2024 first-round pick, and a 2029 first-round pick. These trades went down less than a month before opening night, and although you just got a plethora of assets, that's a very difficult situation for a rookie guard to be put in, especially when he plays the same position and wears nearly the same number as the franchise icon that he's replacing. Regardless, Portland finally dealt their superstar and could now use the season to focus on developing Scoot and their other young players. But so far, Portland's season has been very, very rough from the start. During their season opening loss to the Clippers, Anthony Simons went down with a thumb injury, which is huge considering how Simons has averaged 20 points per game last season and has needed surgery and hasn't played since. A pair of losses to the Magic and the 76ers dropped Portland to 0-3. Scoot wasn't much of a factor in the box score during the first 3 games, but he played better in his 4th game. Henderson scored 11 points and led the team with 7 assists and 2 steals before fouling out of Portland's first win against the Raptors. He was on his way to another big outing in their next game against Detroit with 11 points and 7 assists in just 20 minutes. Although Portland came back to win, Scoot had to leave the game early in the 3rd quarter with an ankle injury. He missed the next 3 games before the team announced that he'd be out at least 2 to 3 weeks. Without Henderson, Simons, and Robert Williams, who had to have season-ending injury, Portland fell hard. After a 3-3 start, the Blazers lost 8 in a row. Towards the end of the streak, Portland briefly assigned Scoot to the team's G League affiliate for what they called a return to court conditioning. He didn't play in any games with the Rip City remix and ultimately only joined them for 1 practice. It's not like he was demoted because of poor play, but this was not a good headline for a top 3 pick less than 3 months into his career, no matter the context. The Portland Trail Blazers finally snapped their streak when Scoot Henderson came back the next night against the Utah Jazz. He came off of the bench for the first time, only playing for 17 minutes and made just 1 shot from the floor, but he handed out 7 assists and helped end the 8-game skid with a 121-105 victory. After ending the losing streak at home, the Blazers went on a 4-game road trip and played pretty well overall. They lost by 6 against Damian Lillard and the Milwaukee Bucks in their first game against their former star, and Scoot Henderson had an efficient game, scoring 13 points. Then the Portland Trail Blazers won their next 2 games, by 4 against Indiana and by 8 against Cleveland. Scoot had bright moments in each game with 13 points against the Pacers and 7 assists against the Cavaliers. He had maybe his best night since the injury on the last game of their road trip. Against the Utah Jazz, he scored a career-high 17 points while adding 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal. He played well, but Portland ultimately lost in overtime, 118-113. 10 games into Scoot's career, and there have been flashes of a good NBA player, but there hasn't been much consistency. He's averaging low numbers when it comes to counting stats, and his shooting numbers are even worse. He's shooting about 34% from the floor, 22% on threes, and 68% on free throws. Most of his 3-point attempts have been catch and shoot, but he's only making 16% of those shots. His shooting percentage is noticeably higher the longer the ball is in his hands. Whenever Scoot has the ball in his hands for 6 or more seconds before a shot, he's shooting 46% from the floor and almost 43% from 3. It's clear that Scoot Henderson is the type of player who will need to be heavily involved with the offense. You done? who will need to be heavily involved with the offense in order to score efficiently. Overall, he's a negative in the win share column, box plus minus, and value over replacement player. He's had multiple turnovers in every game, while also averaging more than 4 fouls per game, and has reached 5 fouls a game 6 times already. Unlike Victor Wembanyama, Brandon Miller, and the Western Conference Rookie of the Month that wasn't selected in the 2023 NBA Draft, Chet Holmgren, he's coming off of the bench for a bad Portland team. Scoot seems to be hitting multiple spots on the draft bust bingo card. Bad shooter, injury, early benching. Some of the biggest NBA draft busts ever dealt with bad scripts to start their careers. Big picture circumstances that they couldn't control. And when Scoot Henderson was drafted, Portland hadn't moved on from their franchise icon yet, and the situation wasn't resolved until a few weeks before the start of the season. Still, Scoot has continued to gain valuable experience through his slow start, and his time on the sideline may have actually helped him since coming back, even though he's coming off of the bench. Malcolm Brogdon, who's been starting instead of Scoot Henderson, recently offered his take on Scoot's play since his injury.
Right now I think he's having success simply because he was able, when you sit out, when you have injuries, you're able to observe, see what the team needs, see how you can fit in, fill a role. I think he was able to do that and really break the game down mentally for himself, and then come back and he's executing.
Even with his wild inconsistencies, the Portland Trail Blazers have been a better basketball team with Scoot Henderson in the lineup, going 5-5 with him and 1-8 without him. And even though this is a rebuilding team, there's a sneaky amount of pressure on coach Chauncey Billups to finally start winning in his 3rd season. So the pressure isn't just on Scoot to turn his play around, it's on the Portland Trail Blazers as well. Portland's rebuild is contingent on Scoot becoming a star or at least a reliable number 2 option. He's currently a long ways from that, and the longer it stays that way, the more likely Scoot Henderson's bust label is to remain permanent. Now, I know it's been very young in his career, and obviously he can change this. So far, it's been a very rocky and tumultuous start to Scoot Henderson's career. So let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think this video is too premature? Do you think Scoot could turn it around? What do you think it's gonna take for Scoot to turn it around? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.